Hello everyone, this is a brand new podcast about all things football. My name is Dan, Craig joins me and we are the Part-Time Pundits. This is the Part-Time Pundit Podcast. Welcome along everyone. And Craig, how are you doing, my friend?
Very, very well. Thank you, Dan.
Good.
Very well indeed. I'm really looking forward to this. Just really excited for the season to get going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to get a lot to talk about.
We're going to go through a lot, aren't we? Listen, before we start, my friend has an F1 podcast and he has like a little title where he says, we might be wrong, but we're first, because he brings it out like the night after, like that night of the Grand Prix. I think we should have something similar. What do you think on this?
Okay.
Right? The Part-Time Pundit Podcast. You might not agree with us, but we don't care. What do you think?
Yes, I like it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with football, isn't it? You know, it is opinions at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you know, some things we say people might not agree with, but that's what it's all about, football, isn't it? You know,
exactly.
Having a bit of banter along the way and having your own opinions.
And that's the great thing is you can have your opinion and you can also poo-poo someone else's opinion. Because that's yes. Football, and that's what we love about it so much. Like, I'm sure you're the same, but all through growing up, you come into school on a Monday and it's like, oh, did you see the game weekend? Oh, that was offside. No, it wasn't offside. And you just be going off and off and off like all week.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah. Recreating the goals as well.
Exactly.
You know, if you saw like an Alan Shearer goal, you know, recreating the celebration.
Like the one-hander, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, so this will come out every 2 weeks, and what we do a little bit of news, don't we? What's happened in the last couple of weeks? We'll have a main topic for the video, and then we'll have something which we're calling at the moment Home Club Review. So I am a Southampton fan, and Craig is an Ipswich Town fan. We're both very happy boys at the moment because both our respective teams got promoted to the Premier League, but we'll talk about a bit more about that later. I want to start with some news, and it's something you sent to me earlier, which I saw, which was Olympics controversy already with VAR.
Yes.
So Argentina were losing 2-1 to Morocco, weren't they? And it was injury time, and Argentina scored a goal which would have been at home in Sunday League, to be honest. The quality of the finishing. And was it an hour and 40 later that VAR said no, it was offside and they had to replay the last couple of minutes? What is going on there?
Yeah. I mean, it's a shocker. It really is a shocker. Obviously, we've had a lot of controversy with VAR, and this is just kind of like the nail on the head, really. I can kind of maybe excuse it a little bit because it's at the Olympics and maybe it's the first time people have used this technology, etc. But yeah, it's a shambles, to be honest, to go that long and then get them to then play another 3 or 4 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, it was. And you risk an injury and things like because once they've cooled down everything, they come back out and it's just not... I mean, I've looked at it and it is a correct decision. He was offside. Yeah. The guy that headed it onto the bar for the other guy to score, he was offside. But for taking that long... And I always defend VAR in terms of offsides because you're either offside or you're not. And you know, forget about red cards and penalties and all that because that's a different thing. That's an objective decision. But the offsides have always defended. And now we've got this where, yes, it was a correct decision, but it's taken an hour and 40 to... Surely not. This is what I don't understand. If that's in the Premier League, uproar.
Yeah. I mean, would it happen? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of why I'm thinking... Maybe do we let them off a little bit? But yeah, I mean, at first I'm thinking, is this the way the Premier League is going to go? But I can't see it. But yeah, I mean, it does show really that when you do involve these systems like VAR, you know, it's adding an extra element to the game of football, which ultimately slows it down for me.
Yeah,
you know?
You are right on that one. That is correct. And funny enough, I was quite impressed during the Euros. We'll talk about the Euros properly in a minute, but... there was a particular goal that was chalked off because you remember in cricket when they've got the snickometer. So like if the sound if they can pick up the sound of the ball hitting the bat and it's caught, then it's out. There was a I don't know if you remember it. There was a penalty given because the ball went past someone's hand and they actually used that technology, like snickometer technology, to pick up the sound wave when it hit the defender's hand, and it gave a penalty. Now it was great, but again you're adding time on to the game which doesn't need to be added on. But what do you think of that snickometer technology?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with it in cricket, because of these kind of, you know, it's just ingrained in the sport,
it's the
isn't
principle
it?
of the game, that bit, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. But when it's kind of to the point of like, can you hear it touch someone's hand? I think we're going a little bit too far.
Yeah.
I understand, yes, we're trying to move things forward, but I think ultimately sometimes it kind of just seems like we're stepping back,
Yeah, but it's not also the fact whether it touches the player's hand. You then have to think about, is it the correct decision in terms of, is the defender next to the player? Has he got enough time to move his hand? There's that decision as well on top of it. So I think that as impressed as I was, I don't think it needs to happen in the Premier League, that sort of technology.
No, I would certainly not want that at all. No. Keep it with the cricket.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode. I'm sure we will at some point do a whole episode on VAR, but we'll move on. And I want to talk about the biggest transfer of the summer so far, which of course was Kylian Mbappe. He went to Madrid, didn't he? Now, there was no fee involved in terms of clubs because he was out of contract. But listen to these numbers. 5-year deal worth 15 million euros a year after tax, and a 150 million euro signing on fee. Now, he is good, but I don't think he's the best in the world, and I don't think he's that good.
No. I mean, I agree with you, actually. I mean, I don't want to use the word overrated because he's not, but I don't think he's up at those levels of, say, a Messi, a Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, to be honest, I was thinking about this earlier. I wouldn't even put him ahead of, say, a prime Thierry Henry.
No,
if you know what I mean.
Me neither. No, because, yeah. I mean, if you take away his pace, is he as a good a player? That's the thing, and I don't think he is.
I mean, obviously, he's been in a farmers' league in France, as they say. But it's going to be interesting seeing what he does do in the Madrid team. But yeah, I just kind of think. I just think yes, he's had amazing players around him at France and things, but is it just because Messi and Ronaldo are coming towards the tail end of their careers, we're maybe trying to like idolise someone that probably doesn't deserve that?
Yeah. Incidentally, people are talking about Mbappe and Haaland, aren't they? Similar type, sort of like Messi and Ronaldo having this sort of who's going to be the best sort of thing. Incidentally, though, what do you think about Real Madrid sort of becoming a bit more Galacticos again? Getting all the big stars like they used to.
Yeah, I mean, it was great at the time, obviously, with R9 Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Watching from afar, absolutely loved just seeing all these superstars on the pitch together. And, at times it did work amazingly, you know.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, if they do it again and can get the whole team working together like that, I think they're going to be pretty unbeatable for a while, in the Champions League for sure.
I think you're right. I mean, Bellingham's only going to get better, isn't he?
Yes.
And is it they signed Endrick, the young Brazilian, as well?
Yeah.
So they're looking very promising going forward, aren't they? Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with the rest of the summer for transfers. There's still some time to. Is it 31st of August the window shuts? I
believe so. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Don't quote me on it, but I do believe so.
Time. Yeah, still plenty of time for things to happen. But anyway, the Euros have happened. Spain are the European champions. I've got to admit, I would not have picked them at the start.
No.
But they were fantastic, weren't they?
They were brilliant. They were from the very start. I mean, they were the only team really that just every single game, they just looked as good at the start as they did at the end, And I know some people say teams need to build up into a tournament, but yeah, they kind of just maybe not steamrolled it, but they did everything they needed to do to get to that final. And as an England fan myself, even I kind of before the match I wasn't admitting defeat, but I was thinking I'm not going to be upset if we lose, because if we do, they certainly deserve to win it.
Well, I totally agree, and I took it as a win that we're in the final anyway. And they were incredible. Look at the teams they knocked out on the way. Everyone says that England had an easy route and all of that to get to the final, but Spain, wow, the teams they knocked out were incredible. And Lamine Yamal, what a player! What a player!
Yeah.
Honestly, yes. I mean, he's going to be a world beater. I think. He's going to be up there.
He will.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean. I know obviously he's a lot younger than Mbappe is at the moment, but it will be interesting because, their careers are going to follow on together. So I would not be surprised if within 2-3 years, he'll be way above Mbappe, to be honest.
I think so. He's definitely got that. I was sat there watching that game. I think it was the it might have been the France game where he scored that goal from outside the box. I actually just went, wow.
Yeah.
I just said, wow, what a kid. I said it out loud because I could not believe the audacity at 16 years old to do that against France. It was quite incredible.
Yeah. Reminds me a bit of Wayne Rooney when he first came out. It's just that fearlessness of the kind of the schoolboy attitude of I don't fear anyone. I'm going to take this shot. And players do seem to lose it as they go along, don't they? It's kind of trained out of them sometimes, but let's just hope that he stays like that.
Yeah. That I assume you're talking about that goal against Arsenal for Rooney.
Yes,
banged it in,
definitely, mate. But that was just
in defense,
amazing goal.
It was. In defense of Rooney, he was like that for most of his career, though, wasn't he? He did not care. Even as he got older, he was like that. I loved him. Loved Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, oh yeah, me too.
Okay, let's talk about England then. So there was a lot of disappointment, wasn't there, in the group stages? I wasn't too worried because I remember us being pretty bad in the last Euros in the groups when we got to the final. But what do you make of our performance on the whole for the whole tournament?
I think really we grew into it, and I think by the end we did deserve to be in the final. Quite literally we were in the final. So I always think at the end of something, you're not going to be there unless you deserve to be. Totally. Yes, we did it differently to the way Spain did. But yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that we even made the final. To be honest, the last, however long Southgate's been in, is it 9 or 12 years? I can't quite remember. But
8 or 9, yeah.
8 or 9, yeah. So, I mean, it's been the best England I've ever known in my lifetime, Sometimes it's not the prettiest football, but at the end of the day, it's a results business, and
it is.
We have massively improved.
And we'll talk about Southgate a bit more in a minute, but it reminds me a bit of how United fans will agree with this. How many times did Alex Ferguson's Man United turn up? Were awful, but won the game 1-0.
Yeah.
So much. And they don't care about that. They don't care about that. And Ferguson, and that was a big trait with that United team. They would sometimes play poorly, but still get results.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar.
They do say that's the sign of it. Sorry, they do say that is a sign of a great team, don't they? To still grind out results, and clearly United did it for nearly 2 decades, really. I'm not saying they always played like that, but definitely there's seasons when it's like they're not even really the better team on the day, but they still nick a 1-0 or they're drawing 1-1, and Fergie time.
Yeah, Fergie time.
They'll score that last minute winner.
What about any standout performances for you from the team?
From England?
Yeah, from England.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably Gahey, to be honest.
Totally
I thought
agree.
he did absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah, he was fantastic the whole tournament. He's added 20 million to his value, I think, with that tournament.
Big time, yeah.
He was solid, I think, and we did miss him the game he was suspended. Saka was bright as well at times. Obviously, his goal was fantastic. Bellingham was in and out of games, but then obviously no one's gonna forget that goal ever. No. But in terms of other individual performances, I think what the problem was is when we started the tournament, we weren't seeing the players, and we talked about this, didn't we, at the time over WhatsApp? We weren't seeing performances that we saw week in, week out in the Premier League. Now, is that tiredness? Is that complacency? What do you think?
I mean, I've heard mentioned a kind of idea that maybe with Southgate, this isn't my opinion, this is what I've just heard, is he, as a player, he was a defender. Yep. So maybe his management style is very much, I'd rather nick a 1-0 rather than go all out attack and possibly lose 4-3 or something like that. But most of these players, week in, week out, they're playing for the top teams, say Foden for Man City, and they come into the England team and it's just totally different tactics, it seems, and not saying they're bad tactics because they got us where they did, but these players, they do take time to adapt into that kind of different style, I think,
Absolutely. I was a little bit... So I was disappointed with a few players. I thought Kyle Walker had one of his worst tournaments ever. I don't know if that was age catching up with him. He made a lot of mistakes. Kane was horrific, I thought. I think he's done for England, Kane. He was hardly in the games. He wasn't, it was like we were playing a press, but Kane, he doesn't press. So everyone's pressing, but Kane, it's from the front, isn't it? You press from the front and everyone comes off it. And that's why when Watkins comes on and things like that, there's a bit more energy, isn't there?
Yes, yeah, just changes it up totally, doesn't it? I highly rate Kane as what he's done in an England shirt.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe this next manager, will they kind of think, let's maybe put someone with him that can run past him or something, because I think he could still be a pivotal part of the team.
Yeah.
But just not the focal point,
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about the future. And so before we do that, I mean, Gareth Southgate, I've always been a defender of Southgate. I never thought he got enough respect. But I want your opinion on what you think his legacy is going to be. Now, before you give that, I'm just going to read out a few bits, and then we'll just reflect on what he's done. So, it's for Southgate. It's the furthest we've progressed in a World Cup since 1990, equaling the semi-final appearance. The furthest we've ever gone in European Championships twice. He's won more knockout games on his own than any other manager combined in the last 50 years. He deserves more respect, doesn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, definitely. You can't get those numbers and those statistics without being good at your job. It's as simple as that. As fans, I know sometimes it's like, oh, well, if we want it to be pretty, we want to, amazing, sexy football. But at the end of the day, if we had have won that game, everyone would have wanted him knighthood, and it was as simple as that, just. That's how the fine margins work in football, isn't it? That
totally.
I'm not saying he's not going to be classed as a hero, because to be honest, to me, it's wow, you've brought the England team back together. The kind of the fans have got back behind the team. So I hope that he's started a new legacy, basically, if you know what I mean. It's the very start.
He has changed the culture of playing for England, I think. He's taken a bit of the weight off of the shirt. And I saw something on Twitter, and I'd like your reaction to this. I don't know if you've seen it, but I saw something on Twitter. It was a thread from a guy who does a lot of I can't think of the word. When you got that word on the tip of your tongue. Okay, I've got it.
You need to think of something else. There we go.
I've remembered it, but it's going to be crazy when I say it. He studies body language, right? How did I not think of that? And he noticed something during the penalty shootout against... who was the penalty shootout against? It was against... was it Austria?
Switzerland?
Switzerland, yeah. He noticed something against in the penalty shootout against Switzerland. And it was when a player... Because we've not, as a country, we've not had a good relationship with penalty shootouts, have we? It's been horrendous over the years. And he noticed that every time a player took a penalty, a different member of the England team left the group and came to celebrate and say well done to that player who scored it. And he was also there to commiserate if he'd missed. And every player that took, there was a different player that came. So it's like they had a buddy system for every penalty that they took. And he also made sure that they don't link arms in the centre circle. And I can't remember the reason he said for that, but it was to do with not feeling left out from the group, if you see what I mean.
I see, yeah.
But it goes to show everything that Southgate thinks of as an England team. To think of that, let's give a buddy to every penalty taker, whether he misses or loses. That person goes and consoles or congratulates them, and it's probably a little bit off the back of what happened in the last Euros where we lost in penalty.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Anything that can give you that advantage, that kind of to get you over the line, I think it's amazing, and the finer details these days that coaches go to, it is incredible, it's not just a case of well, obviously we had Pickford with, writing on the bottle which way the players were going to go. It's just amazing really that these are such elite athletes that basically those margins are what are going to make the difference, aren't they? Yeah,
for sure. And I think it typifies what Southgate was about. In terms of the England job. And I think 10 years' time, we're going to look back and think he was good. He was great for us, and he has changed the culture of playing for England. Because I don't know about you, but I saw interviews with players, when it was like Gerrard, Lampard, those days, and they're be big divisions in the squad. You know, no, the Liverpool players would sit together and the United players would sit together, and no one would like mingle. I think Southgate's eradicated all of that, and he's made them a proper team.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and it is. I don't know whether it's because the Premier League itself has changed a little bit. We don't have those kind of, you know, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, it seemed at the time. So maybe it kind of like it could correlate to that. And then obviously both of these things at once has kind of helped, where he's made sure that you come in as a team. You know, you're not just from certain teams sitting at different tables. He's made sure, hasn't he, that you go out and spend time together, you get to know each other, and this can only help a team. You know, it's teamwork at the end of the day. And if you want to die for that person on the pitch, you will. You know, you're more likely to if you're having a bit of camaraderie with them, a bit of banter. You're not just looking across going, you know, you might be Rio Ferdinand, and it's like, that's bloody Steven Gerrard over there. Do you know what I mean? And they're eyeballing at each other. And, you know, how are you ever going to get anywhere with a team like that?
I know, totally agree. But it begs the question now, who is going to replace Southgate? Have you got anyone who you would like it to be? I
would like to see Eddie Howe, I must admit. But I feel like he's probably going to have unfinished business at Newcastle. I kind of have him having quite high standards, but then how do you say no to England? You know, so there would be that point of like, you know, maybe he could even go back there to Newcastle. I don't know. Well, but how can anyone say no?
Totally. I could do with them offering him the job 2 days before the league starts, because we've got Newcastle away first game. So
let's do that then. Let's go for Eddie Howe.
Well, I've got a couple of picks who I would like to see. Now, they're both... People have mentioned Lee Carsley because he's the under-21 manager. He's won tournaments with the under-21 players, and Southgate came from the exact same position. Now, obviously, Southgate's a bigger player and a bigger name than Lee Carsley, but I wouldn't be totally against it because he knows the players. He knows the players that are going to be coming through, and I think it would be an okay appointment, but it wouldn't excite me. But then I don't think Southgate excited anyone.
Not at first, no. And maybe, you know, I'm sorry, your second point, mate?
My second one is pretty left field, and I don't know if everyone agree with me on this. Jose, the
special one.
Yeah, Mourinho. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. I don't think our players need to be coached any more than they already are. They're fantastic technical players. Mourinho is a put your arm around the shoulder, G you up, give you confidence. He's a fantastic man manager. And I think that people like Foden, when Foden comes into the England team and he doesn't play quite as well as he does for City, having Mourinho there in his ear telling him you're the best player on this team, it might just cheer him up. You know what Mourinho's like? He loves getting in there and geeing up all the players. And I just think that would excite me, that appointment.
It would. I think it would be a really great appointment. And like you say, actually, like when you mentioned Lee Carsley, maybe his kind of, he didn't have as big a career as even Southgate. I know Mourinho didn't have a huge football career as such, but obviously as a manager,
he's been massive as a manager.
One of the biggest ever, you know. So Phil Foden probably would be able to sort of respect him in a way, you know, because he's being coached by Pep Guardiola, the best coach in the world. So kind of, who else really do you think you could kind of, you know, Jose could come along and be like, I can still teach you a few tricks that Pep can't. And he would listen, you know. So, totally. There's definitely that respect level there, isn't there?
I just think if we were like semi-final of a World Cup, losing 1-0 at half-time, Jose Mourinho half-time team talk could you know, swing the balance, you know, and those sorts of things. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we've all got opinions. I just think he would be great because technically we've got one of the best squads in the world. We don't need to be better in that respect, but we do need to be better man management-wise, which I think was Southgate's. I mean, he was good at it, but I just can't. I just cannot imagine him like getting someone really up for a game like Mourinho could.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean. There's the kind of like, as far as he could be or the team could be taken by Southgate. I think someone like a Mourinho could get that extra 5% out of them.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, everyone. Mourinho for the England job. I would love it.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on, Jose.
So what about the future for England is bright, isn't it? Really, with the players we've got, definitely.
I would say so. I mean, when you kind of consider the size, like the actual population size of England, I think really we overachieve all the time, if you know what I mean, because you look at a country like Russia or, when you put it down to the size of countries, I know obviously in England, a lot of children grow up dreaming of being a football player. So we've got that kind of, bringing football's coming home, which I do believe actually is just an extra weight on our shoulders that we shouldn't be singing about. I loved the song when it came out, but I kind of think now it's like maybe even that song just put a bit of too much pressure on everyone.
Been done to death, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, definitely. But definitely, mate.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. I mean, like I said earlier, like how good is Bellingham going to be in another 2 years? He's just going to be, honestly, he's unreal. He is unreal. Yes. I think he will be, in 2 years, probably the best midfielder in the world. We've got, like, Gahey's going to get better. Saka's going to get better. Foden's probably going to get better. We're going to have an incredible team. I just, the World Cup is something different, isn't it, to the Euros? It's
a whole new ball game, isn't it? With Argentina, Brazil in there as well.
Yeah.
But why not test yourself against the best?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed. Right. Okay. So we're going to move on to our home club review. So in every episode, we're going to talk a little bit about our own clubs. As I said, I'm a Southampton fan, and Craig is an Ipswich Town fan, and it's been great, isn't it? What a summer! We got promoted. You did it the easy way. We did it the hard way. Honestly, did you think we'd do it?
Well, Ipswich, first of all, I didn't think we'd be going up automatically. No way at the start of the season. I did think, to be honest, I thought we could push for top half and maybe sneak in the playoffs at the end at a wishful thinking level.
Yeah.
But as the season started and, I kind of started dreaming very early because we were right near the top from the start.
Yeah.
Same as Southampton, So I do think, obviously Leeds fans, you're going to hate this, but I think the three teams that deserve to go up actually went up in the end.
Yeah.
Leeds just fell apart.
I mean, Leicester had it won from the start. But you guys, I thought when you had that great start, I thought, they've done a great. They've come up, they've had that little impetus of being in the Championship, and they're having a bit of fun. They're going to drop off. They're going to drop off. And you had a little patch where things were not going great, and I thought, here we go. But credit where it is due, you carried on from that, and you carried on the form, and you got over the line. So yeah, you definitely deserve to go up. Leicester deserve to go up, and I think it would have been harsh if we hadn't gone up after getting our record number of undefeated games for the club. I thought that would have been harsh if we hadn't gone up after getting that. So I think you're right. The three teams that deserve to go up did. But now we're in the Premier League. It's all about survival. It's about survival, really, isn't it, this season?
It is, mate, yeah. It is. I mean, obviously, like I said, when we went to the Championship, it was kind of like wishful thinking, because this is a double promotion. This is League One, Championship, and to the Prem, and I think Southampton have done it before, haven't they?
We have, yes. So we went down all the way to League One when we were having some financial difficulties. We took a couple of seasons to get out of League One, but then we did do a back-to-back promotion, and we thankfully stayed in the Premier League until we'd just gone down recently. So we did all right.
Yeah, that was a good stretch. I mean, if we could stay up as long as you did, I'd be very, very happy. Obviously the club's plans, as anyone that goes up, is we need to establish ourselves in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, if we could scrape by 1 point hitting 17th, I think every Town fan would bite your hand off for that at the start of the season.
I think regardless of any other performances in the Premier League next season, if you stay up, then you're in with a shout for manager of the season, because where you've come from, I don't think I know any team. I can't think of a team that have done League One, Championship, Premier League and stayed there. Apart from us that time round.
Apart from Southampton.
Yeah, but the difference with us was we were purchased by Marcus Lieber, and he put a lot of money into the club. He sort of saved us. He saved us from administration, and we spent a lot of money. You know, we're talking like Wrexham standard money coming into the club, and that's why we kind of got back up there. So.
Yeah, I mean, whereas to say McKenna, like you say, there wasn't a lot of money spent.
No.
I think they were kind of netting equal for 2 seasons. You know, we were kind of only spending what we were making through player sales.
Yeah.
So to get to the Premier League by basically not really spending a penny was amazing.
Incredible.
I mean, I think we'll go into it a little bit in a little while, but we have now suddenly spent rather large amount of money to me.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's look at that. So I don't really look at transfers as a whole until the season starts, but I'm obviously on the pulse with my team. So what have Ipswich been doing then?
Quite a lot of business, mate, to be honest.
Okay.
The first transfer we had, which didn't kind of light me up too much, but it was Ben Johnson from West Ham.
Premier League experience.
He's basically Premier League experience. It was a free transfer. So at first I was like, oh, hang on a minute. You said you were going to be spending a bit of money here. But it's a very frugal decision. They've got him quite on a real good bargain, I think, because apparently from what I've heard from West Ham fans is he wasn't respected by the club. He'd come through the academy and was never really given, say, a Premier League player's wage.
Right.
And obviously McKenna's come along and basically shown appreciation and said, look, you deserve more than what you've been getting.
Yeah.
Apparently he'd been having negotiations with West Ham for over a year.
Wow.
And then McKenna's just, you know, I don't know the figure, but he's obviously offered him enough. West Ham actually is very close to Ipswich. It will be our nearest match.
Yeah.
It's literally probably just over an hour's drive away. So it's in the Premier League, our closest match.
Okay.
So he said his wife, you know, lives in London, and so he can travel. You know, he's going to travel in and things like that. So yeah, great, solid signing. I think good experience. And then we've signed Amari Hutchinson from Chelsea.
Okay.
Who we did have on loan last season. And he did absolutely brilliantly towards the tail end of the season. He got Ipswich's Young Player of the Season, things like that. Even though he's not a player, but we've signed him for 20 million.
Wow.
So it's quite a big chunk. No Premier League experience. So a few Town fans are saying, oh, you know, that's a large chunk of money to spend on someone that's never played in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But he's from Chelsea's academy. One thing I've noticed is because McKenna, our manager, he's from the Manchester United, you know, he was the under-18s coach, things like that. So he really loves kind of Premier League academies. And it does seem like we're only really signing players that have had top-level Premier League come from an academy, if you know what I mean. So Hutchinson from Chelsea. We've got Jacob Greaves. He's a sort of central defender, left-footed. We've signed him for 18 million from Hull City.
Wow, you are spending a bit.
I think he's 23 years old, and they're saying that basically he could be a future England captain. You know, it's easy to say that, but I think they're going in the lines of Harry Maguire, who came from Hull City, then he went to Leicester, and then to Manchester United, and they're kind of classing us as the Leicester in his journey to the top. So, yeah, really happy with that. And then Liam Delap, who came from the Man City Academy, but he was on loan at Hull City last year. 20 million for him, but again, from the academy, but not actual Premier League experience.
Yep.
And then our goalkeeper, it's quite a long list actually. This is the last one. Our goalkeeper, Hladky, he basically couldn't come to terms with an agreement for a new contract. And basically we've swapped goalkeepers with Burnley.
Okay.
And his name is Arianet Muric, and he played in Burnley's championship winning season, got dropped, and then played the last 10 games of Burnley's season this year. And apparently a lot of Burnley fans are sort of saying, if we'd have had him the whole season and not dropped him at the start, we possibly could have stayed up. So, yeah, so we've basically swapped with Burnley, our goalkeepers.
So
and that was 8 million.
Promising signings then to start.
Yes, mate, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, I mean, Saints have been very busy.
What about Southampton?
We've been very busy. Now, along that similar lines with the Burnley championship winning team, now last season, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, we had him on loan, who was also on loan at Burnley when they won the season before with 100 points. And we had a clause in the loan contract where if we gained promotion, we'd automatically purchase him for 20 million. So as soon as we got promoted, bang, he was our player, 20 million. And he was being brilliant. Man City Academy player, really good on the ball, like sort of a John Stones type centre defender. So good things to come from him, hopefully. Another one we recently signed was Flynn Downs. He was on loan all season as well. Fantastic defensive, central defensive midfielder. Again from West Ham. We got him for 17 million this week. Now there was talk of Carl Walker-Peters going the other way, but that has not happened. So fingers crossed we can keep him, because he was, I'm not joking, he was a cheat code in the Championship, Carl Walker-Peters. Yeah. He is a solid Premier League player, and whatever they did, Southampton, to keep hold of him that season, whether they said, look, give us a year to get us back and then we'll sell you, whatever they did to keep him was well worth it, because he has been fantastic.
He was great.
Yeah. The only worry
Could I just add something on the Flynn Downs thing, actually, was because he was an ex-Ipswich player, so came through the academy. And at the Ipswich side, there was hope from us that we were going to try and steal him from you. And apparently there were talks, but his heart is with Southampton, basically.
I think if we hadn't gone up, you'd have had a chance. But he had the whole getting promoted with us and doing going with the trophy and getting the celebrations. And I think you're right. Yeah. His heart is now with Saints because of that.
And but he's a great player. He was actually one of the only, like, in the local papers for Ipswich, they kind of said he was the only person really that gave Morsey a massive run for his money in those games. Okay. And watching it was like, wow, like he has turned into some player.
Well, the problem was that when he was injured is when we had our blip. So you could totally see we missed his anchoring in the middle. We've also signed Japanese wingback Sugawara. Now, that worried me in that we might be planning to get rid of Walker-Peters, but nothing's happened yet. But he scored a goal against Eastleigh in a friendly, and it was a pretty good goal. So, we got him for 7 million. So, we've had good Japanese internationals before. Yoshida was a Saints legend. So, we signed Charlie Taylor from Burnley, left back. I was a bit annoyed. I don't know if you know much about Perrault. We had Perrault, French left back, and I really
is he from Leeds? Is he at Leeds now?
No, we've sold him to a French team, I think. But I really rated him, and Martin came in and he bought a few players from Swansea, and one of them was I can't remember his name now. Left back we had, and I didn't think he was as good as Perrault, but he played most of last season. So now we've bought a right back and a left back. So we've got plenty of cover in those positions.
Yes.
And Walker-Peters plays left back as well. So I don't know what he's doing there, but we've signed Adam Lallana back on a free transfer.
Oh wow!
He's 36. The only thing I'm thinking is he's going to be great in the dressing room. A Saints Academy player. Yeah. Back to the team, back to the club. He's going to be great with the youngsters, and he'll probably come on and make some cameo appearances. He's got good Premier League experience.
It's always good to have a character like that in the dressing room, isn't it? Definitely. Just to bring everyone together. Yeah. And like you say, academy product. So it makes everyone aware of what the club is all about. And
and as you know, we've had a fantastic academy through the years, and we've brought some great players through. The other thing is we've got some players back from loan. So Carlos Alcaraz went to Juventus on loan. I was a bit confused because he was when we got relegated, he was sort of the only player that looked like he was giving any effort to try and keep us up. And Martin did, for whatever reason, Russ Martin didn't fancy him, and he sent him on loan to Juventus. But now he's back. He's scored in a friendly. He's looking good. So... And I think he's Premier League quality, so we never know how getting him back.
It's like a new signing in itself, isn't it?
It is. And also we had a centre-half called Bela Kotchap, the German player as well. He went on loan last season. He's back too. So I don't know. We've been very busy. We've spent a bit of money. We haven't really let anyone go like for big money. But we've got a lot of money to spend because we when we went down, we sold Ward-Prowse. We sold Lavia to Chelsea for 50 million. So we got a lot in the kitty.
Yeah.
but we've been busy. We've been busy, so I don't know. And I don't know about Ipswich. Have you got any more like sort of any transfers where they're saying it might happen, or are they looking for people, or
they're looking at, because we lost out to I think Jayden Philogene.
Okay.
So that was Hull City, and he's gone back to Aston Villa. That was going to be part of a double deal with Jacob Greaves, but that kind of fell through, and we just took Greaves. So we're now apparently today. I don't know, but I've heard today we've put in a bid for Jack Clark from Sunderland.
Okay. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Good experience. We're still being linked with Ramsdale, believe it or not, in goal.
Really? Okay.
Which would be a fantastic addition. I think it would be a loan though.
Right.
Because Bazunu, our keeper, he tore his Achilles in warm-up before a game this season.
Yeah.
I didn't rate him anyway.
Towards the tail end.
And I can't help thinking it was my fault. So he lives in the same village as me, Bazunu. And one morning I was dropping my son off for a residential at the school, and he walked past the school, and I went, "All right, Gav, hey, up the Saints." And he was like, "Hey." That night he pulled his Achilles. So,
mate.
So yeah, but I didn't necessarily rate him, but Ramsdale would be unbelievable.
Yeah, and he needs to be playing first team, number one, doesn't he? So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked with that one.
No, and the other one was Brereton Diaz. We're linked to Brereton Diaz. Good player up front. And because we did lose, I don't know if you saw, we lost Che Adams to Torino.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
He finished his end of contract.
I did rate him.
Yeah, he finished. He ran his contract out. We got no money for him, and he's gone to Torino. So quite surprising.
Oh wow, maybe just fancied a holiday in Italy, I suppose.
Maybe. Maybe. So but it seems like we're both busy. So we will see how that will transpire. And I think next week we're going to do next episode we're going to do a Premier League review, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. Really excited for that one.
Yeah. I think what we'd do is we'll do our predicted champions and top four. We'll do our predicted relegations, predicted Golden Boot, and all that. And I think maybe as well. I mean, we might have 4 listeners. But we could equally have 100 listeners. Maybe we'll do a Premier League thingy, dream team for
that
us,
could be good.
Us and the
that
listeners.
could work.
We'll set that up or something, and if everyone's up for it, we'll do that, and we'll have a little prize or something. I used to do one for Simon.
Let's get some interaction with everyone. Yeah, definitely.
I did like a Simon Dan one, but like the crossover between science and football is not massive. So
it's not a lot, no.
So there wasn't a lot of takers for that.
Well, unless you start getting into the sounds of hitting hands with balls and things, it's starting to get a little bit too scientific.
But that's it. So we're going to do that next week. But we're done for the first episode. That went all right, didn't it? That went all right.
That was amazing, mate. Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed that.
Cool. So that's it. As I said, we're done. Next week with the next episode. I can't stop saying next week. Next episode, we will do a Premier League review. We are the Part-Time Pundits. You might not agree with us, but we don't care. Have a great couple of weeks. See you next time. Bye bye. Thanks, Craig.
Cheers. See you later, everyone.